that is driven, and it might have, you would have thought maybe it would have elected, because this occurred in 2023. So those same county commissioners were all up for re-election. But Bradford County is very, it's like 75% Republican or 80% Republican. And the two existing Republican commissioners went right back into office, and there was a fight between which of the two Democrats that were running was going to get to be the odd man out in that trio. But yeah, it was a big local issue, and it's still a big local issue. It was only announced that it was settled recently. And we've yet to see whether that was just a take the heat off and get it out of the news, and we'll quietly find another way to do it. Because I don't know what the motivating thing was. I think it was definitely a miscalculation on one of the Republican county commissioners, thinking that they could go ahead and close that library and nobody would care.
Libraries are emotional in the United States.
Yes.
Libraries have deep symbolism. They are tied intensely, just like even more than public schools. They are the idea of the library is tied to the Horatio Alger notion of being able to rise through the classes. It is about access to knowledge, etc. If you can tap into that underlying emotional connection, you might be able to find some way to take it to deal with this.
And one of the solutions that I've heard proposed is that eventually they're going to turn that library into a nonprofit, which is something, depending on how they get their funding, might be something that we might be able to get behind. Having it being a nonprofit rather than a government institution is very libertarian.
Might I suggest leasing space to coding academies? So that you take your computer lab, and for 2 weeks in the summer, it is leased by a coding academy that wants to teach kids Python or teach high school graduates a full stack developer certification or something.
Very good. So how do we, as the state party, help our counties to get out and do this stuff? Because I can tell you, I tell you this, the Libertarian Party, we don't have power, and I can tell you damn sure we don't have any money. But so so we have to get out, and then we have to use numbers, and we have to build numbers, and the only way to do that is in person. We have to have thousands of small libertarian cells of people who are just going to choose to opt out together. So how do we help our counties get out, and how do we rally people around this? What do we do?
On these topics, we give them something to say. So like whenever Nick wrote that statement, that public policy statement for the eminent domain issue in State College, I had this beautiful thing to say. I mean, he wrote such a great statement.
Yeah, he's good.
And so I was able to go there to the council meeting with a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, would I have come up with something good to say? Maybe, but I had something that I could take, and it was solid.
Yeah,
it was solid. And so providing statements, providing flyers, providing these resources on the different topics that we care about, and getting them out there, because if someone has something like that they can be confident about and said, "Ooh, yes, and my municipality could really use this food freedom thing or this whatever issue it is," then they have something to say, they have a great resource to use, and they will then go to their municipality and and speak up during public hour because they have
Yeah.
something to say and they have a good resource to back
It's
them up.
seize the moment.
Yeah.
Seize the moment when the topic arises, because right, these things come up. And that's what we were doing, that's what we're working on with the maps.
I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close here. So I can tell you one thing about libertarians. Usually you don't even give them something to say. But with Nick is, he's special in the way his eloquence, but. You said a word multiple times in that, which was confidence. You had the confidence to go out and do it. I don't think it mattered as much what the words were, and good words are all, I mean, if you've got something real good, it resonates, but. Libertarians have the words, they need what do they need? They need the confidence of how do we give them the confidence? We give them an instruction sheet of the procedures of how they find their agenda, how they go to a meeting, how they get recognized, when they can speak, what to expect. That's what we can do as the state party, is give the people who already have. Libertarians are the most well-read of anyone. They've got the knowledge. Now we need to give them the instructions of how to put it into action, because they don't know Robert's Rules of Order. They don't know when where to go to look for their town hall meeting schedule and agendas. They don't know how to get recognized. They don't know when they're supposed to go in. But if we give them an instruction sheet, it's a step-by-step that says, here's where you go to look for your what's coming up on the list next meeting. Here's what to expect when you go to a meeting. This is how you can get and contribute. If we can do that and give our counties instructions and guidance, and they have the words, they have the philosophy, they have the positions, we need to let them know how to use it. And I think that's what we can do as a state party, is create operating procedures and guidelines and instructions for our volunteers and committees to use to affect action.
That would have helped me out a lot when I first got started a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So this thing I'm about to bring up is not necessarily a solution, it's a question that I hope would lead to a solution.
Yeah.
So there are a great many people out there all over the place that want government out of their business for one reason or another. The government has all kinds of regulations and laws, and over time, many of these people have learned to live their own lives aside from whatever government's opinions about their conduct by being private. So how do you take and create a situation where people who do the things that they do, as far as how they live their lives and their habits of being private, and motivate or turn them into people that can now stand somewhere with a bright light shining on them, reaching out? Like myself, I am more comfortable in private settings than I am in public ones. You guys notice, like, when I sit down and I text messages out, they're often a lot more eloquent than what I'm able to speak when we're in meetings, because I trip over my words. I'm not an extrovert. So how do you create something that makes it easier for people to basically
Engage.
engage like that? Yeah.
We ask people reasonable things.
Well,
You were talking about libertarians being well-read and all. I'm gonna out myself. I am nowhere near as academic as my husband Greg is. I'm your audience. I'm the one you're trying to, if you want to find out if something works or not, give it to me and see if I know what the heck you're talking about, because you guys are often so cerebral. I got nothing. I have my.
That goes second for me too.
Everybody, I have my skill set.
thank you.
Okay, I don't put myself down, but I'm gonna say, I'm academically know where you are, and as far as you're concerned, why would we ask you to stand on a podium?
Yeah.
Can you please write for me? Because I'll speak from the heart. I will walk up to the podium, trip, slam down in my face, like take a bow and keep right on going.
Well,
But I don't frequently have the words.
yeah,
And a quarter of what has already come up with this group or this compact or this, what the hell are you talking about? I'm just nodding.
this is so great, but isn't that what the benefit of working in a team is? Is that we all have our strengths, right? Some people are the John Rassos, who just have the silkiest smooth voice, and he's the most beautiful midget that I've ever seen in my life. But and he looks fantastic. He looks fantastic up in the spotlight.
To meet him, I was hoping we'd meet.
He looks great in the spotlight. And John is a principal as could be, but he isn't the cripplingly addicted to academic texts as some of us others are. And so we need each other, and we need the people who can say, hey, what are you talking about? To remind it, oh, wait, hold on, we need to rephrase this.
Cause I'm going to dinner and
Right.
stuff when you guys have
So-
meetings and stuff,
right.
and I would rather eat my own eyeballs.
Ivory Tower is where it starts and where the goal lies, but where the rubber meets the road is where the rubber meets the road. And if you forget that, if you
Yeah.
don't keep that in mind,
Yeah.
then you are irrelevant.
Cause I
Right.
mean, if you can make me understand and if you can give me some feedback on the pushback, cause I can't go up and make a wonderful eloquent stand, somebody asks me a question, I'm gonna be like, well, I'm out, you
Right.
know.
And
You know?
the thing about that is we don't all need to be in the spotlight, because some of us do better when we're not. And don't put someone in the spotlight where they're going to do their worst, you know,
But
yeah.
I would be very remiss if I didn't say, for those who do want to, it's not the Libertarian Party's job to do it, go to Toastmasters, join Toastmasters.
But,
Someone and I did that for the second.
yeah.
This was something that
But
we've been talking about, you and I.
Yeah.
Forever. You can't make a fish climb a tree. Like, it's kind of like raising children. You know, you see what the strengths are, and I can go around in the room and pick people's strengths. I know what people's strengths are, where people's weaknesses are. And we can't, I think a lot of the volunteers in this organization are so excited about doing stuff that they do too many things that they're not good at.
Yeah.
But I mean, in that process, we're also learning where our strengths are. Because I can tell you right now, I didn't know where my strengths were, and I found them. And I know exactly what, I know that, man, I am much better secretary and I find myself like wondering where those roles are. So that's another thing that we have to pay attention to. And I brought this up at board meetings too. We're not really looking at the emotional component when we speak to people. We're not taking this into consideration so much because we know we're right.
And if you look at where Jonathan Haidt takes personality inventories and value inventories and perspective inventories of people and places them on the political spectrum, we know that that is not a strength of people who identify as libertarian generally. We know that, well, there's a reason people say if the autism spectrum had if the autism spectrum were a political party, it'd be us. It is Republicans.
We are the most diverse.
So, yeah, so that's just, it sounds to me, and if I'm stealing anyone's time or anything, I'm sorry, please feel free to interrupt. But it sounds to me like what we're looking at are a couple of different things, and then I want to add a third thing. First off, we need stuff like the infamous Anarchist Cookbook is basically a recipe book of, in this situation, you can do this tactic. Here's how it's done. When I was in an analyst program, the school created an analyst cookbook, which is if you want to develop, solve this kind of problem, you might apply this type of analysis. Here's how it's done. It's like a recipe book. It sounds like what we need is off the shelf, in a box type, almost recipes of. This is the sort of issue you're facing, this is the sort of environment you're in. These are some things that have worked in the past, here's how you do them. That's one side of the issue. The other side is confidence and training. We need to, the first thing, we can upload all sorts of in a box packages to recipe book packages to our website for people to download, but they have to have the confidence to actually download it and implement it. And that's what requires face-to-face, in-person trainings. That's why we
Put my
have,
computer up, trying.
that's why we have meetings, that's why we have workshops, that's why we have conventions, etc. So we cannot allow having a website or a social media presence to take the place of in-person meeting.
That's
One of the great lessons of the lockdowns is we have to have each other's phone numbers and addresses. We have to be able to drive if the platforms we use to communicate are censoring that communication. We have to be able to look each other in the eye and say, I can count on this person to show up.
Very good, very good, very good. Hot takes online, while very fun for about 10 seconds. Don't create a culture and community of people who are choosing to cooperate to opt out. Right?
Who believe
Right.
each other will show up.
So this movement requires cooperation, and you can't cooperate by yourself. So it has to be in the community. It has to be at the local level, and you have to get multiple people involved. So while I think some of the things that we said are all in the pathway of the next step, but the first step is we have to get people together in person doing something, right? So before we refine people into the you know the perfect candidate or all the training and all that, we just need to get them together and doing something, because we're on step one.
It's a social every month.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
we often personally invite
Yeah.
libertarian curious.
So
We get other candidates that are not libertarian,
Yes.
wanting to come and go to our social.
socials are great. Honestly, from the first time that I went to an in-person meeting under Jen Moore, it was to this one today. I love being around you guys. I do. That meeting that Jen had, all of the differences aside, that was a fantastic meeting. Kevin Goggin asked me to come up and speak for him to tell people about the law on why we didn't want to make it because that's the point. But step one is we need to get people in their communities together and doing something out in the interacting with other people besides libertarian. The socials are good after the after you go out and go to a meeting or go stand on a corner and shout at taxation. I would do anything, hold a sign, you go do something, and then you go to the social. The socials are good for building the camaraderie and keeping it going, but the activity, the meaningful stuff is what's going to bring people out and attract people to it.
Look, Harvey Milk changed San Francisco politics forever by promising to clean up dog shit. The truth is, the way you bring people into a movement is by finding something that they care, something small, something almost laughable that they care about deeply.
Like going to a town hall meeting and calling out something that you hear bad.
Right at this point, I'd be satisfied if we could just get people to go to town hall meetings.
Yes.
Because that level of participation in the community is sorely lacking.
Yeah.
I mean, and just like what Nate was saying, I mean, if there was a game plan, if there were a set, what to expect, the proceed, what to expect at a meeting and so forth. And talking points.
Yeah.
I mean, if it could just get somebody interested enough to go to a town hall and to listen, even if they sit out the whole first time. With their notes and so forth, and don't work up the nerve, the fact that they showed up.
Yeah.
The fact that
Yeah,
they showed
that's it.
up is a step.
That's it.
That's a step. So if we could have a game plan for people that would give them that confidence, we're using the same words over
Yeah,
and over
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Guidelines,
Yeah.
procedures, so that you haven't, people need to understand how government works. If you want to
Right.
change government, you've got to understand how it's working already.
Right.
The people showing up is gonna be the hard part.
Well,
That's-
they're not gonna understand it right away, but if you give them just enough instruction to go out and try it,
Yeah,
that's all that you need. Just need to get them started, get them out there.
Rob, I work for a low-cost spay neuter thing. Okay, we charge $90 to spay and neuter a cat in a county where it's $350. We were in an area that had a lot of low-income people, a lot of need and a lot of problems. We wanted to go to the town hall, the commissioners meeting, and ask them if they'd give us $5 a cat. You know, with some slush money that they had. We talked to 50 people who lived in that area. Who, if it was $40 or something, could pay. We need this, we need this, we need this.
Yeah.
Guess who showed up to the meeting? And we told them, all you need to do is raise your hand when we ask who would benefit from this service.
Mm.
None of them showed up. None.
Yeah.
You know, so I hear you,
Yeah.
right, but there is also people that.
government, the machine is intimidating.
Yeah, yes, it is.
People feel like their voice doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
They can't make a difference.
It's also that people are kind of are hesitant to venture outside their comfort zone, stay
Yeah.
with their patterns, which is why in order to get people involved, in order to get them active, typically that requires like contacting and call banking
Yes.
over and over.
yes. See, now we're getting to something that we, as the leaders of a state party, can do. Because look, we all know how hard it is. We all know the uphill battle that we had today, but all of you are still here. So if we're gonna do something, right? If we're gonna do something, even if they don't come out for 10 meetings, go to the 11th one and someone's gonna hear you. You know, it's up to us to keep showing up for people to rally around. We need to have the people, we need to put people in the areas to stand there and with
Standard bearer.
yeah, like a
This is the
spotlight
rally
saying,
point.
I'm here, and we go every week, we go to every school. Why are we going to every school board meeting? You know, we need to get out and make sure that we have someone standing there saying, we're doing it again, we're going again, we're doing it again, and then people will be there. So, that's what I'm, the whole.
Kind of like a rally post kind of person.
Yeah, the whole point of this is what can we do going into next year? To get people interested and create communities and cultures of liberty-minded people who want to cooperate, to opt out. Because we're not gonna beat the system, but we can just get people who choose to, we're gonna opt out. And that's what we need to do.
Pick a few topics, do it well,
Boom.
do it clear,
Yeah.
don't do them, if we have to, put all the topics in a hat, because every one of us in this
Yeah.
room has a different paper.
And that's what I was getting about a unified purpose. I don't know how many of you guys were there for the 2021 Pittsburgh Mises Bash, at the Green Tree Doubletree Hotel. But I know that was one of the most tumultuous times, especially for this party, but Dave Smith said something that night that like everybody in that room like felt like purpose in it. And it was like, he just said it very plainly, this is what we are. And I think that we as a state party should do that. This is what we are. Let's pick a couple of things and this is what we're gonna go and stand out on. And then we can work together and see, you know, if we've got each county going out and trying a different angle, and then we can tell what worked and what didn't, but we have to get out there and be there for people to rally around, and that's what we can do with the state party. Yeah,
So for next year specifically, you have to keep in mind, it's going to, for the coming year specifically, this is a presidential election year. And so people are going to be, a lot of people are tribal, but they're also going to be more politically aware. So whatever strategy that we do, it has to be able to take it for this particular year. I think it's our best chance for recruitment, and so we have to take advantage of that.
Except we're not the most talked about third party in the media right now.
and great, and that's exactly why we shouldn't go out and tell people why they should be libertarians. We should just, we know our points are good. We should go out into the world and say what we have to offer. And not tell them that this is, the libertarians are offering this. Tell them what we have, and then they'll ask, what are you?
We don't need to be the most talked about third party, we just need to be a talked about third party in order to get.
No,
people.
we need to be a party of action, going out and saying this stuff.
That as well.
And it doesn't matter that we're libertarian if we're out there saying the truth. Then they'll find out later that we're libertarian, and then they'll want to join us. But you're not going to sell anybody saying, "Hey, so check out libertarianism." No, hey, go scream at the top of your lungs are like the policies that we had, and then people will come and ask you, what is that?
The particular topic that people have been rallying around, at least in my area, is zoning. And while that is very boring in a lot of ways, it's something that people, at least in my area, really care about deeply because of the cost of housing.
Well, you don't know about
Yes,
you don't know about chickens.
Here's the thing, zoning is something I think we don't give enough credit to, because it is a local issue. It has a lot of economic impact on people. So
That's our arena, man. That's our
exactly,
arena.
that's what I mean. It's like we make, like, it does. If zoning is something that works for you, especially if it's a cost of housing thing, because that is something that I think really grips people. Because I mean, everybody knows inflation is horrible. Like, I'll just go to a random, sandwich shop, and somebody will make a joke about the price, about, a price going up, and I'll just mention inflation, and they'll be like, yep, and so they know. They know cost of living is going up, and obviously housing, being as, shelter is essential, they're aware of that, but it's not one of our taglines, mine as well, and the Fed can't exactly do that at the local level, but we can relax zoning restrictions to make it so that there's more land available for people to develop, to give people affordable housing. Actual affordable housing, not government sponsored nonsense.
Every time a dilapidated single family home is torn down and becomes a 3-family home, you just added housing for 2 more families.
Yeah.
In the jurisdiction.
But you've also supposedly driven down the property values of the surrounding houses. So the zoning is a problem because the public perception is it's an assault on wealth, middle class wealth.
Except places where we've actually seen this in practice, for instance, places where they've allowed accessory dwelling units or other things, we've actually seen the opposite. The price has gone up.
That's the message that we need.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
so
because it's great for affordable housing, and it doesn't hurt property values. You've gotta be aware of your audience.
So just to anybody who has ever been like looked into the zoning issue, you know how just treacherous it is. But to anybody who has never had any dealings or any understanding of what zoning is, it is the most boring thing that they could possibly even imagine, and they have no interest at all in doing it. So so that's what we have to do, is go to those places and then be there and then get that, so we can't tell people that this is where they need to go, we gotta go there.
Bringing it back to me and kitchen table topics. I don't care about the zoning, I mean, I do. But I don't understand how this makes it more valuable and that doesn't make it more valuable, I mean, I actually do, but. The kitchen table topic of it actually, and I've been threatened with this. Illegal to be a Tupperware consultant in a residential thing because you're not zoned as a small
Yeah.
business.
Right, yeah.
So if you want me to give a shit, okay, make zoning about being able to have
Yes.
cottage industry.
Yeah.
Hit them in the heart, yeah.
We-
And you know, that you're hitting the heart, that you're speaking to me, that's a zoning issue,
Yeah.
it's a government thing. That's something that we can
Right.
handle, and it's not like a protest that's gonna get you arrested.
Right,
And building on what Julie said, when we put what works on the website, when we put off the shelf stuff or in a box stuff on the website, it needs to be clear about where it is most likely to be relevant. You know, the Republican, the GOP at the national level, if a district is more than
Mhm.
D+5, the Republican Party at the national level will not put money into a campaign.
Mhm.
So the Republican Party has basically abandoned urban areas. That's why the choice, when you're running, when you're voting in an urban area, your choice is, do I want someone to the left of Mao or do I want someone to the left of Stalin? Because anything to the right of that, anything not Maoist or Stalinist is out of the spectrum. The traditional alternative has abandoned the area. That is a vacuum that we need to go into, but we need to have, when we have, this is what works to communicate with people.
Mhm.
This is what works to illustrate to people. We need to have red, blue, and purple categories.
Sure.
When you're in a red district, you need to target the fissure between the patrician reds and the populist reds. When you're in a blue area, you need to target the fissure between the traditional liberal blues and the progressive communist blues. And when you're in a purple area, you need to target the way they're obsessed about how the chips are gonna fall, shuffling voters between red and blue.
I love your strategy, man. I love it every time. But what you're describing is something that before I was chair, I was doing the Mises Caucus leading, and something that we used to tell people about every time we would bring them into one of our onboarding calls was the idea of you attack the left from the left and attack the right from the right, right? So we're better on their own issues. So if we go into their areas and hold them accountable for the things they claim to be about, we can get people to be like, whoa, hold on a second, what are you actually doing? One of the stories we always told about Michael Heiss was how he got marijuana legalized in his town. He moved into Norristown, PA. It was fully illegal there. He wanted to do something about it, so he went to a town hall meeting. At the town hall meeting, he met the chief of police there, and he said, "Hey, what do you think about marijuana?
What's the status of legalization?
And the chief of police said, you know what, we're wasting a ton of money, we're hassling people, we're causing a bunch of problems. If you got something, bring it to me next time, we'll present the other." He went home, found a sample legislation, typed Norristown on the top of it, went back in and submitted it. But with it, he took a copy of the Democratic Party's platform, where it says right on there that they're about legalization of decriminalization. So he took a decriminalization bill, took their own platform and stuck it to them, right? But
It worked.
the whole reason I go to say that is the we can debate and get into the strategies and we can try them out and figure out what works, but we need to go out into the world and start practicing what we preach. We spent all of our time this year looking inward, trying to figure out how we're going to work amongst each other. And where did it get us? We spent tons of effort and tons of hours, and we are worse off than we were. So I think next year, that as the people I see every year still being the leaders of this party, we need to do something different.
Well, one thing we definitely need to do is we need to get on the ball and do those standard operating manuals. So
That
petitioning, canvassing manual, mail campaigns manual, some of that other stuff that we were talking about.
you already said that if you had that when you started, it would have set you up. When I was my very first meeting that I was the Allegheny rep for this LPPA, I got put on the media relations committee. I was like, awesome. And then after the meeting, I was like, waited around for somebody to reach out. I didn't get contacted by anyone. So I had to go and ask, hey, is there like a space for this? Where do you guys meet? Do you have meetings? Do you got something I can look at? Do you have rules? How does this work? And there's a chat.
Yeah, I kind of lucked out because I had Morgan and Larry and Ratso, everybody from.
Yeah.
Hold my hand through it.
Those guys are, man, they're good.
Yeah.
Oh, they're good.
Speaking of mailers, Morgan had huge success with that.
Morgan is.
Did he tell you guys about that?
Yeah.
He did?
I don't know if they know, but do you want to tell them?
Yeah, Morgan sent out basically like campaign recruitment emails, or no, sorry, letters, like physical letters. We got way more response from that than all the call banking, text banking we did put together. And we got 4 good candidates and 3 of them got elected.
Yeah. So if we take that and we instruct all of our counties about how to do that, then we as the LPPA don't have to come up with $10,000 to send out mailers to everyone in the state. We can coordinate the counties and use the principles of the division of labor to allocate the different hours and funds to get these things out. And then the people who are reaching out are the people who you're going to see. And they're making the contact and they're building relationships and they're building community and camaraderie and that's how we're going to get communities of libertarian culture and teams that just grow and people will see what.
And another one we did that was pretty successful was we did a bunch of tabling events last year. And what I put together at the end of the tabling season is I went to like the Mises Institute and a couple others and asked them if I can get deals on like pamphlets and flyers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of material from Mises, a couple others, and the Libertarian Institute sent us 25 copies of Hotter Than the Sun. Because people were snagging that stuff off our table left and right.
I can tell you this, it doesn't matter what the hell our bylaws say, if we're talking like this every week about what can we do next month to get out into community more. It doesn't matter what rules we're using because this is how we cooperate together and help people. So I don't care what happens with the rules coming up at this next convention. It doesn't matter. We need to change what we think doing this thing is. Because we can work and spend as much time as we want to sharpening rules and policies and creating, but we're just going to do it again next year. So it doesn't matter what the rules are if we're doing stuff that matters, right? And I would very much like to work with everyone, no matter what roles anyone's in, and do that next year. And I'd love to see us go that way, because I think we lost ourselves a little bit this year. I think we were really hitting a good stride at the end of last year. I think we really had cooperation going very well, and then we shook it up and just got off track, but let's get it back on and let's spend our meetings figuring out what we're gonna do in this next month to get out in the community, rather than how we're going to bring another rule to correct something that a rule can't even correct anyway. So, that's I think that's pretty much what I was hoping to convey here today.
I don't know about everybody else, but I am hungry.
I'll say, can I say one more thing, Rob?
Yeah,
And I think one more thing to kind of add to this idea of getting out to the community is, as we start doing this more and more, if we document that,
yes, that's right.
then
That's right.
we can share that, we can take that momentum that we're gaining and increase it manyfold, and we can at the same time provide more of an instruction manual for other people.
Yeah.
So if you know, somebody goes and reads that statement or
Yeah.
you know, gives that whatever to their council, and we document that, then we can share that so that someone else can see, oh, they did this in Bradford, well, I can do this in Center too.
That's right. That's right. All right, and so I'm about to I'm probably train wreck this whole entire thing.
Oh, no.
What we need to have is just a storage area for every committee and county, every committee needs their own little storage area that isn't, you don't need permission to get into. It's just, if you're getting the committee, you get on there, and here it is. All the stuff that we have, all the instructions are there. You don't need permissions, you don't need email, you don't need that. Every committee needs a storage area of shared documents that are automatically and immediately available. Because when somebody takes the initiative to get interested, you have to get to them right now. And you got to get them interested right now. And if you have to go 2 weeks until they get their email open before they can even get on to asking to be on our database, which we don't even share. We need protected, just open and out there storage areas for our committees to share stuff openly and freely and passing back and forth. And we need a designated checked tool that is loggable and viewable, but not participatable. If we go to those two things, and I don't mean to get a whole organizational here, but we need to have readily available information when people come to do something. So get the committees a known single storage area where all of the committee stuff goes into there. And it's there ready to go, and you build on it, and then the party owns it, and it's not saved on people's hard drives or this or that or you know, behind security walls where you have to go through 3 people to go and get it. Give every committee just shared documents, and then that makes them. When a volunteer comes up, if you don't take them right now and get them going, they're gonna go sit down, and then they're probably not gonna stand up again for another, you know, a year or two. So.
There's some problems with that if you're talking about doing it online. And the biggest problem is going to be vandalism.
Well, someone should do a backup every once in a while, like that. You know, you gotta.
Greg, I agree.
Same thought.
I agree with you.
But there might be a way to do it in like stages, like, I mean, you could have a repository that anybody can access.
Yeah, that's right, that's what I mean.
But the committee, and of course, the committee refers to all the time, but there could be a working area where there is some sort of control just to make sure that I mean, accountability, I mean, one of the key features of IT stuff is logs, so that you know who does what.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is to prevent, because people do bad things if they're unsupervised, destructive things.
Very good.
Well,
Yeah.
you're talking
you can have
about
a
this
working
access to
area.
documents, right? So
Yeah.
making a significant portion of it just read only.
So
So they can get in there, get documents
Yes.
they need.
yeah.
If someone needs to add something or make a change,
Right.
then then you're looking.
You've got a
at
committee chair and you've got a committee
Yeah.
secretary, and they
And
have.
there are ways to do all of it. There are ways to do all of these things, and they've been developed over time because they've learned the hard lessons of you just throw everything into a big pit, You know, somebody's gonna come along, delete everything and replace it with telephone books. So somebody- or-
No, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. But I'm just, I'm trying to tie all together because we want to take if we're gonna go out and into the world and start doing stuff, we want to document it and we want to be able to pass that on to the next one, and we need that readily available. If we can figure, if we can put,
There was a huge repository of all the common work
yeah,
that people contributed over years and years and years, and it was called Yahoo Groups. And guess what? They shut it down. And it moved on. So,
yeah, that's a problem, but
Base camp?
I'm on the working committee with IT and the finance committee and there are people from the IT side saying that we can do everything that you're asking for. There are capabilities that are already built into the stuff that we have. Some of it's nobody's ever asked them to do it.
I have. Hold on. So I have witnessed those conversations, and if there's a way that we can do that, then great, but the issue that I run into is you get somebody that says, no problem, we can totally.
let's save this for the next IT meeting.
Yes, it's where it's at a put up or shut up.
Yeah.
Put up or shut up.
But
Yeah, I mean, so one last little thing, if they say they can do that, I would like to see a sandbox of it, so we can present it to the commission.
yeah, I haven't felt like this like good about just a discussion with you guys in some time, and I think that we should keep talking about these things rather than the stuff we've been talking about.
It's the fact, in-person meetings, oh.
Which is why our counties have to be the ones doing stuff and not us. There's tons of them, and there's so many more people that we could, we are, I'm an Austrian, you know, we believe in the division of labor, right?
Yeah, we should apply
Let's
it to our own
use it.
party.
Let's be a guide and a resource and a let's give them the way to do the stuff that they want to do. And stop trying. I don't even know what do we do? What do we do? But let's, yeah, I like
Reform the Bibles.
yeah, I know.
And there was working out the bugs.
Yeah, but
That's what,
again,
that's what's.
I don't care if we have quorum or nothing, if we just get together and have discussions about what we're gonna go do next month, it doesn't matter. So, obviously we have to have some framework, but let's not obsess over it, but let's just go and do stuff together to get people out into the world and like making some noise. And with that, I quit. All right,
We're not really in business, so we can't exactly move to adjourn, so.
you guys online got anything to say?
We can make a mission, we can go eat.
No,
No motions.
No motion.
All right, who's
So
the
no business in January, right?
Do I hear volunteers?
What's that?
January.
No business meeting in January?
Yes, there is one, isn't it? We don't.
We have I don't, we don't have quorum, do we?
I thought we, yeah.
I have two very moving stories that need to get added.
Yeah, does anybody have any, if there's business, does anybody have any business?
Discord server, and we had a situation
For executive.
There is the special meeting that we called on the 20th to review the issue of the base camp motion.
Are you going to step down from that meeting since you clearly have a biased view on Nextcloud? Or
What's that?
are you going to be chairing that meeting?
Yes. I didn't bring the motion.
Okay.
Are you, I mean, would you like me to recuse myself?
From base camp? Any base camp discussions? It's like you seem to use this meeting to push your agenda.
I didn't mention base camp once. If you'd like me to recuse myself, I'd be happy to do it, but I didn't know that there was it wasn't my motion and, but that's fine.
Just a question.
All right, thank you. Happy to do
So
it.
the answer is yes or no?
If it would make you feel more secure in the result, then I'd be happy to recuse myself.
Great. I think it would.
Let's see.
All right.
So there is a meeting on the third Saturday, right? And there's a special meeting.
I think they called for the 20th. Greg Deal was has been heading that up.
We are still being recorded.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
The 20th is the first, it's gonna be the joint meeting.